Into the depths of summer, putting aside last year's special circumstances, most years, obviously July, we see a seasonal dip in prices and market activity. Today's video, yet another edition of the TREB resale market report for the month of July. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty, back with another video for you guys here today. As always, you can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my Instagram, and my office. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you may have with any topics covered in this video or any other video, or if you have any general inquiries with regards to the Toronto/GTA real estate market. Lastly, as always, feel free to subscribe, like this video, and give a comment if you happen to enjoy my videos, that is. If you don't, obviously you're not obliged to do so. Feel free to not subscribe or unsubscribe or dislike or leave a negative comment. But if you happen to enjoy the videos I make and find them informative, your support in that regard in terms of a like and a subscription is greatly appreciated. That aside, let's get to the points of today's video, which as always is yet another edition of the TREB resale market report, where I go through the major trends and facts that you should know with regards to the real estate market that was in Toronto and the GTA in July. This video is being recorded on August 5th, so we're 5 days into August, and I will have some videos coming out later in next week about the August numbers as well, so far as I see them with regards to different property types. Of course, we always cover condominiums as well. Starting off, total residential transactions down 14.9%. Now, obviously, as always, this is for the entirety of the TREB areas, which, with some differences, but functionally speaking, you could think of it as equivalent to the GTA, the totality of the GTA. Last year, we had 11,000 transactions. This year, in terms of residential transactions, we have about 9,000. One of the reasons for the drop in transactions has to do with the fact that there was a lot of pent-up supply and demand that kind of got released last summer, because last summer we're really talking about last year's special circumstances with regards to the worldwide events that we dealt with, and the latter ends of July towards the mid of August is where we started to see the pent-up supply and pent-up demand that was otherwise taken off the market earlier in April and March. We kind of started to see it released where upwards of September and October, not in terms of condominiums, but in terms of freehold properties, things were starting to look like a little back to normal. This summer is a different story. A lot of people did their buying and selling earlier in the year, in March and April, and some of them a couple of weeks in May. Not to say, obviously, there's transactions occurring all over the place, but in totality, it does not surprise me to see a low number of transactions, because getting to the next category, we see that inventory is also substantially down as well, by a factor of 30%. Believe it or not, these two metrics in conjunction with the price, which I will discuss in a bit, really point towards more of a moderate market. Of course, at the end of the day, in real estate, even the most moderate of moderate markets, and especially in the GTA and Toronto, sellers still have a fair amount of leverage. But having said that, properties are not being listed at a high rate, and if they are being listed, they're not selling very quick. We do still see multiple offer bidding war situations, but far less than we saw in May, and we saw in April, we saw in March going back. And the ones that do occur, I actually made a video about this about a month ago that still applies. A lot of properties that are being listed for multiple offers fail to sell, and then they relist at the price fair market value they actually want. Still saw that up to 2 weeks ago. So that is a trend that was not occurring in May, was not occurring in April, was not occurring in March for freehold properties and condominiums as well. But yes, speaking of the devil, the average selling price up 12%, where we stand at $1,062,000 in June. Now, once again, this is across all property types. We're talking about the smallest of smallest condominiums to the largest of largest detached 2, 3-story, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom properties. So it does take into account of a large range of properties, all properties really. However, when we look at it on a month-over-month basis, this is actually a $27,000 drop or thereabouts. The preceding month, the month that we have in complete full before this month that we have in full, which is July, so we're speaking of June here, the average selling price across all property types, across all areas, was $1,089,000. So year over year, it represents an increase, but month over month, we see a dip. Into the depths of summer, putting aside last year's special circumstances, most years, obviously July, we see a seasonal dip in prices and market activity as compared to June, and June as compared to May, and May as compared to the following month. This is not that abnormal. Now, moving on to more specific numbers here with regards to specific property types, breaking it down to the 416 and 905. What I find interesting off the bat with this report is that when we look at sold numbers, not in terms of average sold price, but in terms of the number of sold transactions, year over year, everything is down except condominiums. Condominiums are up by 200. Now, we're not once again speaking about prices, we're speaking about the number of inventory sold. As you can see on the screen, in total, the biggest disparity when we compare the number of transactions this year, or that's rather this July of 2021 versus last July of 2020, the biggest disparity is in detached properties by a factor of almost 1,000 transactions. Once again, townhomes and semi-detached, they're still lower, but lower by less. And then obviously, as you can see, condominium, there was actually more condominium sales that occurred in July 2021 as compared to July 2020. Another thing that's actually quite interesting and it caught my eye as well, and it corresponds greatly onto what I'm seeing on the field with buyers and sellers as an everyday realtor working with buyers and sellers, is that when we look at percentage increase in terms of year over year percentage increase, the typical thing you see in terms of year over year increase is in this order. Detached properties is going to have typically the most year over year increase percentage wise, and then second to that, semi-detached will have the second highest year over year increase, then townhomes, and then condominiums. And the prices usually normally, and in this case as well, run quite parallel to that, where detached is the highest prices, semi-detached are the second highest prices, townhomes are the third highest prices, and condominiums are the fourth and the cheapest prices. But the interesting thing here is, putting the prices aside, but the percentage increase, townhomes actually showed a larger percentage increase year over year in this month of July when we compare it to the month of July of 2020. Higher percentage increase than semi-detached, believe it or not. So from highest to lowest, detached properties saw a 20% increase year over year. Townhomes came in second, saw a 15% increase. Semi-detached came in third, saw a 12% increase, and obviously condominiums last. So what does this say? Well, when I said this corresponds to my everyday work on the field, the numbers, sometimes the numbers and the experience don't correspond. Sometimes when I'm working with buyers, working with sellers, working with tenants, working with landlords, and then I take a look at the macro numbers at the end of the day, some assumptions that I was picking up and some ideas I was formulating with regards to the market don't really pan out on the numbers. But in this instance, they do. In a lot of instances they do, and this is an example of it. I have seen a large shift of demand. Even in the month of July all the way back to March, I saw a large shift of demand towards townhomes, and in some instances bypassing costlier options such as semi-detached, that at the end of the day, when you think about it, a semi-detached versus a townhome, you might actually, at the end of the day, assuming it's a freehold townhome and it's not a 3-story townhome, you might actually get a better deal for the money you're spending in terms of the space and the build with a townhome as opposed to a semi-detached in a lot of instances. Anyways, this is a shorter version than normal. Stay tuned for early next week for more in-depth condo numbers with regards to the Toronto and GTA real estate market. We're going to go through downtown, midtown, North York, the city of Toronto, York region condo numbers in a video coming up next week. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a very, very short vacation until the Wednesday of next week where that video will come out. Anyways, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and RE/MAX Realtron Realty. You can find my contact information in the description box with regards to my Gmail, my office, and my Instagram. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you may have. Lastly, feel free to subscribe, comment, and review. Your support in that regard is greatly appreciated, but you're not obliged to do so. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned and stay safe.